The most common subject of portrait paintings were those of high status and royalty. Those that were working class couldn't afford the luxury of being seen. The only way for working class people to be seen in art was solely dependent on artists choosing to paint them. The choice by artists like Gustave Colbert and Vincent van Gogh to paint peasants and stone breakers puts them on the same level as royalty. Through their use of color, line, and light, Portrait of a Peasant and The Stonebreakers drew attention to those that couldn't afford to pay for their own representation. Portrait of a Patient Escalier was created in the summer of 1888 by post-impressionist and mental health king Vincent van Gogh. The painting, which is currently on display at the Norton Simon Museum in Pasadena, depicts an Arlesian peasant. The choice of Arles was because Van Gogh thought the South made poverty less harsh and melancholy due to its spiritually pure people and a clarity of light. The community and the high amount of sunlight acted as great inspiration for Van Gogh's Arlesian portrait paintings. The effect of Arles's intense sunlight can be seen in Escalier's mint green jacket, streaked with white, and his mottled red and yellow cheeks. Van Gogh perfectly depicts the effects of Arles's harsh sunlight through the contrast of the turquoise coat and the burnt red face of the peasant. Van Gogh puts more emphasis on his subject, electing to paint the background with the richest and the most intense blues he could contrive. While choosing not to paint a background could be seen as lazy, for Van Gogh, the choice temporarily removed the peasant from his shabbier living conditions. The navy blue background is especially important since the muted colors make Patient Escalier's bright color palette stand out even more. To make sure that the blue of Escalier's jacket doesn't blend into the navy background, a thin red outline is used as a barrier between the two blues. The navy background creates exceptional contrast with Escalier's hat, with its saturated yellows, evoking imagery similar to a halo. Now, this doesn't mean that Van Gogh ignores Escalier's poverty. Brushstrokes in the jacket and face suggest wear and tear. His sunburnt face suggests that he's been outside for far too long. This piece differs from other works of Van Gogh's, like The Potato Eaters, as it focuses on a specific person and steers clear of caricature. When writing to his brother about the painting, Van Gogh was concerned that the Paris art scene would see only caricature in this exaggeration. The fact that Van Gogh was concerned about the interpretation of his painting highlights how he was trying to make an honest portrait of a real man. This piece may seem like a simple post-impressionist portrait of an insignificant figure, but for Van Gogh, this was an honest interpretation of a man and his experience. In comparison to Van Gogh's more bright depiction of lower-income people, realist painter Gustave Colbert's piece, The Stonebreakers, shows a more grim depiction. Created in 1849, the painting depicts two figures' labor to break and remove stone from a road that is being built. While this painting may seem like a simple depiction of two workers, the piece acts as effective commentary on their working conditions. In fact, the painting was created only 1 year after Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto. The painting reflects many arguments created in the Communist Manifesto, highlighting the exploitation of the working class. The painting refrains from showing the identity of the men by obscuring their faces, focusing on the background and the work that they perform. The piece stands out from other 19th century paintings as it acts as a conscious rejection of the highly polished, refined neoclassic style that still dominated French art in 1848. Colbert's goal with this piece was to realistically portray the back-breaking work that these men do. This differed from typical narratives of heroic workers. This work isn't rewarding. The clothes on these men are ripped and tattered. What's worse is that the workers are a man that seems too old and a boy that seems still too young for such back-breaking labor. These composition elements emphasize the continuation of exploitation, showing how it's both destructive on a physical and generational level. Composition-wise, the painting contributes to the theme of exploitation through its choices in light, color, and line. Color-wise, the top half of the composition is mostly dominated by a looming dark brown hillside. This contrasts heavily against the bright white of the workers' shirts, further emphasizing their isolation to their labor and giving them a somewhat ethereal quality. The lower half of the composition is composed mostly of lighter brown tones, like the tan dried grass or the washed out beige ground beneath the workers' feet. The only contrasting color present within the piece is a small patch of blue sky in the upper right hand of the composition, which in turn isolates these labors. The minor inclusion of the blue sky acts as the illusion of hope. It's there, but it's too far to reach. While the line work isn't present throughout the piece, it's more prominent with the objects in the foreground. The slight outline again puts emphasis on the stonebreakers, making them stand out even more against the more blended background. Colbert's goal with this piece is to highlight the struggles of these men and how it continues on throughout generations. An important portrait of exploitation that needed to be created. Through their use of light, color, and line, Colbert and Van Gogh created portraits of a working-class people to give visibility to their unknown experiences. By giving these stonebreakers and peasants visibility through paintings, legitimizes their struggles and puts them on the same level as royalty. While this visibility may not seem important, having those experiences and hardships legitimized is far more valuable than any Van Gogh or Colbert painting.